Welcome to the Beyond the Mat podcast, an in-depth talk show discussing exclusively WWE topics.
My name's Rick Boogs, and I came to rock with the Beyond the Mat podcast that is beyond the M-A-T-T podcast. Ah!
All right, we're here for Beyond the Mat. This is our official Extreme Rules preview show. I got Frank and Brad with me tonight. Before I throw it to them, remember to follow us on Twitter at BeyondMatWWE. We're available on all podcast platforms. Give us a 5-star rating or review if you have a chance. You can also find us on YouTube and anywhere else you can find audio. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, man. How are you,
Very
Matt?
good.
I'm hanging in there.
Back.
Excited for the pay-per-view this weekend. I'll be in the house for it. I'm really interested. I haven't been to a premium live event or a pay-per-view or whatever in a long time, and I'm interested to see what happens in between the matches because I feel like a lot of time is killed on TV when you watch them. And so, I mean, a lot of these are stipulation matches, like the 6-man tag match and the fight pit match. So there could be just some logistical breaking down of things, but I'm interested to see, what happens in the arena in between the matches because a lot of people don't really talk about that. But I think it's a good card, especially given the fact that we don't have a men's championship or the tag titles on the line. Not the top men's championship or the IC title or the US title. I know they're both being defended on Raw and Smackdown coming up, but other than that, I think all the matches, although they're not like all just totally enticing, they all got a little bit of something to them. And they did a good job on Raw building up to the matches that are Raw-based matches, and we'll see what they do on SmackDown for those ones. So, but before we get into Extreme Rules as a whole, did anything jump out for you guys as far as SmackDown, as far as Raw this week, and then, other things that were in the news or some changes happening, I think that we're going to see on the season premieres coming up. So,
Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of changes going into the season premiere of both shows. We already have found out, obviously that the announcers are completely changing. Jimmy Smith is gone from Raw. Replaced with Kevin Patrick. And honestly, I hope I'm proven wrong, but I do not like this move. I think Kevin Patrick doesn't have that oomph in his voice, that almost like a little bit of a softer tone. And I don't know if that's going to work well, especially alongside Graves, who is staying with Raw. And then on SmackDown, you're going to have a big change where Corey Graves is not going to be there. And they are calling up the great Wade Barrett from NXT, who is hilarious and smart and funny and has a booming voice and is a total heel announcer. So I think that change is going to be for the better. I think the Raw change is going to be a little bit challenging with Kevin Patrick doing the play-by-play. Oh, and Byron Saxton is gone as well. He's going to be backstage, almost like a Mackenzie Mitchell or Sarah Schreiber or whatever.
or what Patrick used to be.
Correct. Which I don't understand the moves. I mean, Frank, are you excited about the announcement?
It's funny because I wasn't familiar when I saw the names. The biggest thing that jumped out at me is just the fact that they're going to 2-person commentary team. So I think that's a huge plus because, it seems a lot of the time everyone's got to get their stuff in, and it's not a play-by-play in a color. I mean, I love the old Monsoon Heenan dynamic, and I'm actually a little sad to see Byron not with Corey Graves, and I don't know how that's going to work. I'd rather see teams like that. But Wade Barrett, I think, is great. I think that, that should work out.
Yeah, I think the Barrett and Cole thing will be good, especially since Barrett's a heel announcer. Cole tends to side with the baby faces. We really, we had it on SmackDown with Corey Graves, but we didn't have it with McAfee. McAfee kind of just is hyped about everybody. And then on Raw, I'm not the hugest Byron Saxton fan, but I do think that the banter back and forth between him and Corey Graves is entertaining. But I also think that it can get a little bit cluttered at times. Like you're saying, everybody's got to get their stuff in. So it's like there's always somebody. And it's hard. It's just, I think 2 guys is better than 3. But I always like it when there's a clear heel guy doing color and a clear face guy doing play-by-play. But
could that be a little bit of probably what a guy like Triple H enjoys? Maybe that's why we're seeing some of these changes. He's of that period. I think he appreciates probably a good 2-man team with a heel and a face to get people over. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Kevin Patrick does it. We did see him do like the July 4th show or some show. Maybe it was the show after SummerSlam or show after something. And
it wasn't very good, man.
Yeah.
He seems much more cut out for, he's the smiling face on a backstage interview that just has the wrestler shine, almost like that. I don't know, Mean Gene, Kevin Kelly, pick your guy. That was Michael Cole at one point, and then look what Michael Cole became. But it'll be interesting. We'll give it a shot. But I miss Jimmy Smith. I thought he was great coming in from another field, and I thought he knocked it out of the park. I was a little sad to see him go.
Yeah. Is that a contract thing? Did his contract expire? Did they completely let him go? Like, what happened with that? I really didn't get too far into the news.
It seems like it was a contract that was not renewed. It's not like abundantly clear, but that's what it seems like. And it makes sense that, for this season, we're renewing your contract. And then when that ends, obviously they knew it was coming to an end. So he probably knew last Monday was his last Raw, but who knows? But I guess the point is, I just don't see how Patrick is going to have the voice to carry a 3-hour show. He's, again, very soft-spoken. He's almost gentle, he comes across. And, Cole's got a little bit of oomph in his voice. And like a Kevin Harlan in the NBA or an Iron Eagle in NFL, you like to see these type of voices. And I don't see it working with Kevin Patrick for 3 hours on a Monday night.
And Jimmy Smith had that too. Jimmy Smith, he got progressively better as time went on. But he always had that, just very enthusiastic, emphasizing this could be it every time, which actually kind of got a little bit annoying every time somebody hit a big move. That's got to be it. And it wasn't. But there was times where he didn't know the names of the moves because he wasn't familiar. But at the same time, he had the voice for it. I would agree. I don't know that Kevin Patrick really has the voice for it, but we'll see what happens. But it'll definitely subtracting Graves from it, or subtracting Braxton from it will probably allow Graves to shine a little bit better, I think. So
yeah, I think Graves. And if you think about it, and not to beat a dead horse here, but when the entrances happen of the wrestlers, it's usually Graves who is, or even McAfee, it's usually the color guy in a lot of instances who's talking about them coming down the aisle. It's usually not the play-by-play guy. So the play-by-play guy's role is a little bit different in WWE than it would be elsewhere, but I think Graves is going to be great at, carrying that. And I do think Barrett will be great at carrying that, just like Pat McAfee was. And I think it will work on some level, but man, I don't have high hopes for it once again.
The one thing that I sort of wonder, and maybe it's just sort of a time that's past us, but it does seem like the play-by-play is no longer play-by-play. Sort of like some people turn on the radio to listen to the baseball play-by-play while watching an actual game. They don't really describe it anymore. And that seems to be a lost art. I know a lot of people used to really enjoy that. I don't know how Joey Styles used to do it in ECW, did everything, but it doesn't seem like there is a play-by-play and a color. It almost seems like everyone is sort of color to some degree. I don't know.
Yeah, they're all sort of enhancing the storytelling, or putting over a part of a character or whatever, or just talking about in general what's going on more so than they are calling the action in the ring. JR used to call the entrances as a play-by-play announcer like really well. When The Rock would come out or Stone Cold would come out, he'd talk about how the crowd's reacting, and he would make you feel what ever was being felt inside that arena at the time. Look at the ovation, this is unglued and all that. But nowadays it's more the color guy, or I guess whatever that you're calling the person that's in place of Corey Graves and McAfee and Wade Barrett now. Doing more of the commenting as the entrance happens, I think. But any other changes you guys have heard about for these upcoming season premieres?
I mean, I heard. Sorry, go ahead, Frank.
Well, yeah, I think what were you going to say about? I think his name is Robert Fee. They've brought on. I think the title is long-term creative head. And I think he's a horror writer. He worked for Marvel or Netflix, and and apparently I think he's behind a lot of the White Rabbit stuff and maybe friendly with Bray Wyatt. But looks like if you're Triple H and you're getting your ship in order, you're starting to put forth what's going to be your vision of WWE. Getting a guy that's involved in Marvel-like stuff, long-term storytelling. I mean, that's sort of everything everybody's hoping for, and something nobody really would do better than WWE, I think.
Yeah, and I remember reading and listening to a few podcasts where they were talking about how WWE actually prefers people that do not come out of the wrestling space, that maybe want to learn it or whatever the case is, but almost the less you know, the better it is, because you come in with this fresh perspective and fresh ideas that really lend itself to what you're talking about, Frank, in terms of, new storytelling and long-term storytelling and things like that. So maybe that's why they brought a guy like this in.
Yeah, and they bring in guys from Hollywood or that have written sitcoms or this, that, and the third, that bring in that element that can then implement the storytelling of that can attract more of a wider audience, while they already have a head of creative in Triple H with the wrestling background. So and other guys there, like Bruce Pritchard's still there, I think. Like I said, yeah. I didn't get up to speed on all the news today. That's one of the reasons why I'm having you guys discuss it more than I am. But yeah, I think that it's interesting, and we'll see what happens. I hope that not everything is a White Rabbit puzzle moving forward, because I'm not going to be able to follow it all, and I'm going to have to keep looking up what other people have looked up for me. But I do think that the White Rabbit thing that they've done, regardless of how I feel about Bray Wyatt in general, I think the QR code game that they've done for this period of time, especially if it culminates in Extreme Rules and doesn't continue on for weeks or months, I think it's been really interesting and really cool that they've been doing it. I just think it's a cool interactive thing that they've had going on. I haven't personally decoded all of them or scanned every QR code, because I can never really get my TV to freeze on the right point to scan the QR code. I got it on Monday night when it was on the back of the contract signing booklet or whatever. But the one that flashed on the screen, I couldn't get my TV to get to the right point, and I was getting
Well,
frustrated.
actually, did you see? If you froze it at the right, someone posted a screen grab of it. Before that code came up, I think it was all like smoky or whatever. There was a distorted Fiend face, I think, apparently above Alexa, and then and she then had her match. Sort of like she went to the dark side a little and challenged. So that'd be interesting if that's what all of this is leading up to.
Yeah, and if it is if all these hints and the Fiend mask and all of that, I think it's safe to say it's gonna be Bray Wyatt, the White Rabbit. One of the codes was led to coordinates to the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, where Extreme Rules is going to be. So to say it is Bray Wyatt, do you guys think he's going to be coming back as the Fiend, as any kind of character he used to have, or is it going to be a new version of Bray Wyatt that we haven't seen before, and they're just using references of his old characters to hint that it is him, nobody else?
I hope it's not the Fiend. It's a little creepy for my personal tastes, and I don't like that mask, and I just don't like it. But that's just me. So I hope he comes back either as himself or maybe some other character. Look, I hope it's not scarier, But I that's just me though. I don't like that scary stuff personally.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be in the scary stuff category, though. I mean, that's where it's leading. Whether or not he's the Fiend, I don't know. I mean, I kind of think that they're not going to give up on that IP, that mask. Like I think they're going with it. But it reminds me of two things. One was about like all the writers. Like it wasn't a complaint of WWE when things were going in circles in the same matches, whatever. They're like, oh, these Hollywood writers don't know wrestling, when I think really it's the filter. Like now you've got a filter, you've got Triple H, you've got a direction, but the Hollywood type writers coming in, like you say, Matt, you say like a sitcom. I mean, that little skit with Sami Zayn cracking up the Usos, in the middle of a story, the apartment was on fire and then she came in, whatever the joke was that you're walking on the middle. I think all of that is coming from sitcom writers. That's, this is quality writing that you'd see on a sitcom. But then let the wrestler guide where it's all going to go. I think it's like the perfect match, and we have to wait to see it deliver.
Yeah, I think like the character coming back, I think with the new writer they have and with the direction they have as far as wrestling going, I think it'll mesh together okay. I'd prefer it not be, just because of what I've heard other wrestlers, like even recently in Seth Rollins' Ariel Helwani interview and other interviews I've heard with wrestlers, they've always said, and other pundits have said the same thing, that a lot of wrestlers, when they come into a feud with Bray Wyatt, that whether they win it or lose it, they don't come out of it any stronger than they did, and that's always what you want a character to do, is go into a feud and come out of it stronger than they went into it. And I feel like the Fiend itself would just destroy characters feuds, because and a lot of that may have just been the way that they were directed by Vince McMahon. Maybe it'll be different now. Then the other thing for me is that just a lot of paranormal and hocus pocus stuff going on is, for me, a little bit unrealistic, even though it's professional wrestling and it's not realistic. It's not real anyway. I just don't want it to be too ridiculous, with lights coming out and chandeliers falling like they had in the Thunderdome and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be what it is. And, it's like I said, the journey's been interesting, and we'll see what happens. And, I think I would give a thumbs up to everything else that's pretty overall that's happened since Triple H took over. So I don't really fear the worst in this, regardless of how I feel about Bray Wyatt in his previous incarnations. I will say that usually they don't go backwards with characters. They progress or evolve in some way, even when they're bringing them back. Like even when he's brought back some of these other guys, they're not 100% what they were before, especially because they don't have the Vince influence anymore. They have the Triple H spin on things. So usually it'll probably be some mesh of what, and Bray Wyatt's creative on his own. So it'll probably be some sort of character that we haven't seen yet. That'll be, some incarnation that's a mesh of everything that we've seen, with the new spin. But as far as the particular shows, SmackDown and Raw, anything other than what we have coming up with our 6 matches on Raw, I'm sorry, an Extreme Rules pay-per-view that you guys liked or disliked or that stuck out for you?
In terms of Raw, I mean, I thought the Seth Rollins Riddle thing was really well done. I thought, Theory and All Day Academy was really well done and hilarious. Gable was incredible, even outside the ring with Otis. Every move Otis was doing, he was doing the thank you, and it was just so funny. I even liked the Lashley thing with Mustafa Ali. I actually thought it was a really good episode of Raw in terms of a go home show, and even the last match, which had no business really being a main event, in my opinion, with Alexa and Io Sky. I did kind of like the way it ended, even as much as I dislike Damage Control with the vision of Bianca being down and out and them being on the ladder, and all the weird stuff that was happening in Alexa's match, with the screen turning pink or purple, with the Willy dolls strewn throughout the arena, with the guy in the Bray Wyatt mask all of a sudden appearing in the crowd. I really thought it was a very interesting episode overall leading into this pay-per-view.
Yeah, I enjoyed the episode of Raw. I guess not to repeat what Brad said, I'll look at SmackDown. I had made a few notes just when I was watching it, and I think, and then we'll probably get into it when we talk about the matches coming up. The way that they're booking Liv, the way she comes out. I mean, first off, Ronda's in her match with Natalya, and she has what was the shirt? Every Child Matters shirt. I mean, I don't know how she's being booked as a heel. She's clearly not a heel. They have that match. Liv comes out with a weapon, but then gets beat up herself. I could never imagine back in the day an Austin Hogan running out with a weapon against their heel opponent and then getting beat. And then what's the next thing we have? We have a segment with Sheamus that was amazing. And didn't he come down with his shillelagh, but he was taking on 3-on-1. I mean, like, that's how you book someone. And even, what was it on Raw with Bianca, the way she came down and saved, made a save, during the match. They're booked as a very strong babyface. So with Liv, we'll get into the predictions. I don't know that the plan for her is to stay as a babyface. And if it is, I'm very confused at how they're doing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to do with that either. I think there's a couple, me and Brad were talking about this the other night, and I think we'll probably talk about it when we get into the match. That'll probably be the first match that we talk about. I thought that, I agree, Gabe. I think if you can German suplex Braun Strowman and your Chad Gable and bridge him into a pin like that, that's pretty impressive. I think that Gable and Alpha Academy is always good TV. Gable's become like an Alpha Academy in theory. They've basically become as much comedy as you're going to get on Raw anymore. They've gotten rid of all the sort of comedy and goofy stuff on the whole show. I thought the Lashley and Mustafa Ali match was really good, except for I thought it was a little weird that Mustafa Ali did a 450 splash to Lashley's arm. And then had to sell it like he just did it and everything. Lashley's arm's like the size of Mustafa Ali's entire body. But it was a good match. The story of the match was Mustafa Ali's never going to give up, and until he kicked out of everything until he just passed out. And I think those little things we haven't seen Mustafa Ali in a while. I thought his backstage segment was a little bit off, but that's just me. But I think that, that's the type of thing Triple H is throwing out there to see if, the crowd bites on Mustafa Ali being this never give up guy. And if they do, maybe we'll see that progress a little bit more with Mustafa Ali. If not, if that seed doesn't grow after being watered, then it won't. And I think those little things that they do every now and then are good. And then and that match also allowed Seth to come out and stomp the both of them and clearly demonstrate that he was a heel, not get the entrance with his music and have the crowd singing along to it, and then go right into the Riddle segment, which I felt like their exchange was fine. I thought Daniel Cormier on the big screen was a little bit weird that suddenly these two guys in a heated exchange, one person's yelling at him about his wife, the other one's insulting him about his situation with his kids, that true? Does he really have a restraining order that's keeping him from seeing his kids, or is that Seth embellishing things there? Do you guys know anything about that?
No idea.
Because, they just got divorced recently, and so I don't know. And I also think that the stuff with Seth talking about Riddle and his kids and all that, great the first time, but now bringing it up over and over again is starting to make me wonder, and I'm sure makes other people wonder, what the hell did Riddle do that's so horrible that's not allowing him to see his kids?
Kind of hard to be a baby face, right?
Right, exactly. He's supposed to be a likable baby face. And so, but Daniel Cormier interrupts this heated argument on the big screen. And that's him coming. And it was almost like he was acting like he was breaking some news that nobody knew about when they already had released it on Twitter and were talking about it the entire show. And I'm pretty sure Seth even had talked about it. And then, I just felt, he talked fine. His cadence was good. But at the same time, the substance of what he said and the way he was saying it was as if they didn't know already. And I'm sure it was probably a situation where they taped it a week earlier and they just didn't have the time to redo it. But you would think that then, if that's the case, that they would adjust what they said so that whatever they put on the TV was fine. But that was the only problem with that. On SmackDown, they opened it with the tag match, Madcap Moss and Ricochet versus Sikoa and Zayn. And I thought that was a good match. And, Sammy was getting cheered in that match a lot because they were in Canada and because a lot of people like Sammy anyway. And then later on, I thought it was smart of them to do the backstage segment where Sikoa basically did the dirty work for Zayn and beat up Moss, and Ricochet threw him into the garage doors a couple times. And that sort of helped them establish these are still heels that you're not supposed to cheer for here. And then, it being against Madcap Moss and Sami Zayn. And then in addition to that, backstage, we had the brief moment of Kevin Owens walking down walking around the backstage area, running into Sami Zayn and saying, hey, you need a new shirt.
I love that line. That was one of my notes. I thought that was a great line.
Yeah, so they're definitely foreshadowing something there with that, which, I think will be great whenever they get to it. So those were the things about SmackDown, in addition to what you guys said, that stuck out to me. But other than that, you guys want to get into the pay-per-view?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, we're right
One
around.
thing I have to say though, because it won't be on the pay-per-view. Shotzi, what do you feel about this tank entrance? I sort of am on the fence with this. If you're Rusev and it's a giant tank, it goes slow. If it's small, it should go fast. It looks like she's on like a Walmart kids toy, and there's going to be like some preschooler running after it, say, give it back. It comes off silly to me. I don't know.
I agree. It's like a little kid's toy, you know. It's like a Power Wheels.
Yeah, but every time I see it, I'm like, this is goofy. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think it's just something to define her against her heel character, define her as a baby face, and shoot the pyro off and whatever. I think it's pretty stupid myself.
It's
Yeah.
funny that
Okay.
Shotzi has pyro, but Becky Lynch doesn't. Kind of funny.
Yeah, well, maybe she will. We haven't seen her since she got injured at SummerSlam, so that Triple H hasn't had a chance to do that. He's been shooting off pyro for the tag team champions every time he can on the women's side. So, who knows what they'll do whenever we see Becky again. But we'll get into the pay-per-view. We're going to take a quick break real quick and get our commercial out of the way, and then we'll go all the way home with the 6 matches for the pay-per-view.
The Beyond the Mat Podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Beyond the Mat Podcast.
All right, welcome back to Beyond the Mat. Remember to follow us on Twitter at BeyondMat WWE. And we're going to get right into our Extreme Rules pay-per-view predictions. We'll start out with the Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey Extreme Rules match for the Smackdown Women's title. I'm going to ask you guys who will win the match, and then whether it's a pin or submission, and then we'll go with 2 bonus questions in case there's a tiebreaker at the end. And I'll ask you those after you say who the winner is. So I'll ask you, Frank, first. Who do you have winning this match? Liv Morgan or Ronda Rousey?
I'm going to go with Ronda Rousey by submission.
All right.
I don't know. It might also be more of a hope. I'm actually more interested in just, where the characters go from here, because I just don't see Liv making it out as a face. I don't see her beating Ronda Rousey. I think everything she's done along the way has been heelish. And when they have her come out as a baby face, she almost looks foolish getting beat up. So I have a feeling hopefully Ronda will win this. And I'm hoping that maybe Becky will be coming back, because did they ever get their one-on-one match?
Not yet. No.
Because I think they were first set to fight, and was Becky injured or something? Was that when, oh God, I forget her name, that broke her nose and she got the bloody face. That's when she got Nia Jax, right?
Yeah, and then they had the triple threat match, but they never had the one-on-one match.
Right. So I'm hoping that's where it all leads to, and have her win this. But yeah, I don't see Liv winning this one. But if she does win it, my prediction would then be she turns full heel. But I'm still going to go with Ronda winning.
All right. And do you see Liv turning heel even if Ronda wins?
I do.
Yeah. All right. And so you have her winning with submission, where it's Extreme Rules match, so it can end anywhere. Where do you think the match actually ends?
Oh, you mean whether it's in the ring or outside the ring?
Yeah, or in the entranceway, backstage, in the crowd, on the announce table.
I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to go with, since she went over Ronda twice, I'm going to say Ronda wins it in the ring.
All right. And then finally, is there any interference?
No, I think she's gonna win. I think if anything happens, it might be after the match where Liv turns full heel.
All right. Brad, who do you have? Liv Morgan or Ronda Rousey?
I have Liv Morgan. You can continue on.
And pin or submission?
By like some sort of knockout almost. Not even, I don't know if that's either. I guess that's submission.
All right. And then do you have interference?
Yes. Charlotte Flair.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
And then where does the match end? In the ring or somewhere else?
In the ring.
All right. And I have Ronda Rousey winning this match. I do have I have her winning by submission. I have the submission occurring outside of the ring, somewhere up by the video screen. interference. I think Charlotte Flair is going to reappear here. I don't know. And see, that's the one way I think Liv could win. I think Charlotte Flair reappears and distracts or does something to Ronda Rousey, and that causes Liv to turn heel with Charlotte Flair after she wins, and they sort of pair together, and eventually Charlotte Flair turns on Liv and wants the title shot because, truth be told, Liv never really beat Ronda Rousey fair and square. If she wins this match with the help of Charlotte, and Charlotte would want a shot at that title, of course. And then, so that takes care of my prediction there. So I think Ronda's going to win, though. Overall, I think the only way that Liv Morgan can win if there's some sort of like extreme interference by Charlotte. But I think Charlotte will cause a distraction, but Ronda will win. And then there'll be a post-match beat down by Liv and Charlotte. That'll turn Liv heel. I think Ronda Rousey will win this match here. So next up, we have good old-fashioned Donnybrook match between Imperium and the Brawling Brutes. And before we get into this, I don't understand. Can't they just call it a Donnybrook match? Can't we do without the good old-fashioned part? Or is it?
It's kind of like a Vince McMahonism, which I kind of like. It's kind of funny. It's like unnecessary good old fashioned thrown in there. It's kind of like whatever.
Yeah. So we got Imperium taking on Brawling Brutes here. I think this is going to be, a lot of action in this match. It's obviously an anything goes match. So Frank, who do you think wins this one?
It's interesting. So Sheamus does he have the title match against Gunther before this tomorrow?
Yeah.
So that might change where it goes. I would love to see them win, but I'm going to go with Imperium winning that.
And which member of Imperium pins which member of Sheamus's team?
I would say I'm going to go with Gunther pinning Butch.
All right, Gunther pinning Butch. And any interference?
No, that match will have enough people flying around. I think there'll be no interference there.
And will they break the announce table?
Sure. Yeah, we could say that.
All right. You got Gunther pinning Butch. And Brad, what do you have for this match?
Matt, to your point earlier in the show, there's going to be a lot of time between matches just to set things up. So you might have more broken announce tables than you would normally have because there's just a ton of time to set up a new one. So you might have it in 3 matches instead of one, whatever. Interestingly, on NXT, the main event of NXT was actually the NXT Tag Team Champions facing the Brawling Brutes, who showed up on NXT this week. The Brawling Brutes lost by pinfall to Pretty Deadly, the NXT Tag Team Champions. So it's like Frank said, I think a lot of this, to me, on my prediction, hinges on who wins the Gunther Sheamus match tomorrow night on SmackDown. If Sheamus wins that championship, which I think could happen, I have to go with Imperium. If Gunther keeps the championship, I'm 100% going with the Brawling Brutes. I know that's a non-answer, but I just can't see the Brutes losing 3 matches in a row is my point, including the NXT match on TV. So, and really it would be 4 matches in a row if you count the match against the Usos for the championship. So, man, I think Sheamus might win the Intercontinental Championship tomorrow night because it sets up a lot of heat on this match. So therefore I am going to go with Gunther and Imperium. And I'm actually going to go with Giovanni Vinci pinning Ridge Holland. And the reason why is I think they have yet to really introduce Vinci as a serious character, which he is. And I think this would be the perfect showcase for him to get a signature pinfall in a pay-per-view.
All right. And does the announce table break?
Yes.
All right.
Who's going through the announce table?
Butch.
There you go.
By who?
Gunther.
All right. I don't think Sheamus is going to win the IC title on SmackDown. I think that they're putting this show on there or this match on the show because it was probably the best match they've had, according to critical acclaim in a long, long time, and they want those ratings for their season premiere. But I think Gunther will hold on to that title. I don't think it's out of the question that Sheamus wins, but I think that they're saving Sheamus's IC title Sheamus has never won. I think they're saving that moment for a bigger stage than a SmackDown episode. But regardless, I think that the Brawling Brutes are going to win this match. This is supposed to be a Donnybrook match, Sheamus's match that he proposed to McIntyre a couple months back. That was a great match, but the problem with it was we've seen them do McIntyre and Sheamus. We've seen everything they did in that match, them do to each other a million times, and there was 0% chance that Sheamus was going to win it. We all knew McIntyre was going to win that match and face Roman Reigns at Clash in the Castle because that was at stake in that match. But that being said, I think that because it's the Brawling Brutes match, I think they're going to win this match, and I think that Butch is going to get the pin over Vinci just to give Butch a little bit of a push, and I think Vinci. Matter of fact, I'm going to change that. It's Butch is going to pin Ludwig Kaiser, and that's going to because I think he's expendable there. You don't want to pin Vinci right now because he's newer, and you don't want to just have him getting buried like that. And I don't think the announce table breaks. So you guys both picked Imperium. I picked Sheamus's team. And we'll move on to the fight pit, Rollins versus Riddle. We'll start with Brad on this one. Who do you think is going to win, Brad?
Riddle. And I think Riddle's going to win just to even the score. I think it's his type of match. I'm almost 100% sure that something will happen with Cormier as the ref. And what I think they're setting up, and you guys can tell me what you think, I've seen a lot of, third-party interviews and things with Seth and Cormier, and even I think it was noted on Raw where Seth's like, oh, you like me, Cormier, you're my friend, blah, blah, blah. I mean, would it be unprecedented for Cormier to knock out Seth at some point in that match, and that's the way it ends? Knockout? Where Riddle doesn't even really do the knockout. Maybe Riddle's getting a lot of stuff in and Cormier finishes him because Seth is being so incredibly obnoxious or getting under Cormier's skin as the referee. Is that even a possibility?
I don't think it's impossible, but I think if you do that, then you kind of it protects Seth and it doesn't really give Riddle a true win. And it leaves it open for this feud to continue. And I think this feud's over after this match. Especially because I don't think Rollins likes working with Riddle.
Yeah, but I just can't see, the only way to win this match is submission or knockout. I can't see either of those. I can't see Seth submitting. I really can't. So therefore, my only option left is knockout. And maybe it happens with Riddle slamming him into something over and over and over again, but I just really can't see it, man. But I guess I would go with a knockout.
Got Riddle winning with a knockout. All right. Does Riddle do an RKO off of the second level of the fight pit structure?
1,000%. And he will also do a floating bro off that thing.
Yeah, I definitely think he'll do the floating bro off there. Seth attempt a curb stomp from up there.
Oh my God. That is so sick to even think about. Like that, I feel like you literally accidentally kill someone. You know what I mean, Frank? Yeah. That's scary. I don't know. I could see one of them legitimately getting injured in this match, like even by accident, because it's so dangerous.
I know.
I don't like it.
And where do you think the match will end? Do you think it'll end on the ring level or up on that second level that's sort of around the ring?
I think it will end on the second level. I think it will, because it's very viewable for the crowd, and it's like a state, like a platform of dominance almost. You know, it's like that's where I think it will end.
Yeah. All right, Frank, what do you think? Who do you think should win this one?
Yeah, I think Riddle is going to win this. I don't think it'll be a submission. I don't think we see Rollins submitting, but I do think it'll be a knockout, and I think it'll be something with Cormier. Because I thought Cormier was coming into WWE, and I thought he was even training. So I think he's going to have some matches. And while I think eventually he's going to lock up with Brock, that's not the kind of thing. I don't see a Brock interference or anything like that. I think you get a cocky Seth Rollins going back and forth with Cormier, and somehow Cormier trying to keep his cool and be impartial, and then just loses it because Rollins goes over the top. And that leads into something happening where, Riddle does something, I'm going to guess, off the platform into the middle of the ring, and it's a knockout on Rollins. So that's how I think it's going to end. And it'll lead into a feud with Rollins and Cormier, because I think that's a great person for Cormier to start out with. You've got a vet like Rollins. The only thing is, I don't know where that goes, because you can't have Rollins continue to lose. But, well, I'll be surprised, but it does set up another problem.
Yeah. So do you feel like there's going to be an RKO off of that second level?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
What about a curb stomp?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
but a curb stomp, I'm trying to think a curb stomp. So I'm trying to picture this, because I didn't see the Fight Pit match that was in NXT. So the curb stomp would be him jumping off that second level.
Jumping 8 feet onto his neck. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I don't see that, because I don't know how that would even look. The way the curb stomp is done, I don't think you can make that look good without almost probably killing him.
And probably breaking your own leg too, because you got to land on one leg.
You got to land on one leg, right? I don't see that.
All right.
Oh, is that scary?
And you think it'll end inside on the ring level, right?
I do.
All right.
I mean, does Rollins try and do a pedigree off the second level? I mean,
wow,
Jesus Christ.
That might happen.
I mean, they could do all kinds of shit in there. That's going to be an interesting match to see. I'm glad I have seats where I do, because I'll be able to have a good vantage point.
Matt, can I ask you a question before you get to that? Live events, steel cage, do you have a good view? Or is it a little too obstructed to enjoy?
Definitely obstructed if you're on the lower level. If you have a little bit of you're a little bit higher up than the top of the cage. And the thing is, I don't know how big is the Fight Pit. The other thing I'm wondering about this Fight Pit, are they going to build it, or is it going to be hanging up from the rafters and they're going to lower it down? Because if they have to build it and tear it down, then that's going to take a lot of time. Unless it's like the opening match and they tear it down real quick, or if it's the last match. I don't know. What can they hang that thing?
But they have to remove the ropes, right? That's the whole thing. The ropes are removed.
Yeah, they got to take the ropes down, I think.
And you know what? I don't think that's something they want to reconnect, because the tension with those ropes, you really have to test that out for guys that are springboarding off of that. I don't know that you want to mess with that in the middle of a show.
It's a good point, Frank.
Probably the last match then, if they're going to do that. That's actually what makes sense. I think, Matt, you're right. They would hang the structure like a cage, and when it's time for the main event, they're going to remove the ropes, bring that down. And I mean, it makes sense for that to be a main event, because you're bringing in someone from, former UFC, Daniel Cormier. A main event match. That makes the most sense.
If they do that, if this is the main event match and Bray Wyatt's returning, I don't think they can bring Bray Wyatt back in the middle of the show and then have a bunch of matches afterwards. I think it undermines the impact of Bray Wyatt coming back. I figured he would come back in the main event, and that's why I thought the ladder match would main event. And so, that being said, if he comes back during this match, we could have a no contest. Which would make neither guy win. Regardless, my pick is for Riddle to win the match as well. Everybody's talking about how this is Riddle's match, and that's the one thing that's making me think that maybe Rollins is going to win. But I think Riddle will win this one. I think he will hit an RKO off the top of there, no curb stomp, but there will be some other crazy stuff going on, and I actually think he will make Seth tap out somehow. I don't know how involved Daniel Cormier is going to get. It seems like you guys know a little bit more about that than I do, as far as like his future involvement with WWE. But to me, I think that Cormier is going to be pretty impartial, and that the match is going to end up on the second level with some sort of ridiculous submission hold, like with Seth like hanging from that second level, and with so much, the submission hold just looks so devastating, and he's just bent in such a way that he has to tap out. And so that's how I think it's going to happen. It's going to be a submission. I don't see a knockout happening, but that's just me. It definitely could. It could happen by accident in this match. But that's the only thing is, when is this match going to be? You know, given the logistics and all the things we were talking about, and like, does the Bray Wyatt appearance play a factor in any of the matches? Like, whether it's the ladder match, is that match a no contest because he interfered, or does he turn Alexa Bliss heel and she turns on Bianca and helps her stay down so Belaire can get up the ladder, or so Bayley can get up the ladder? I don't know. The Bray Wyatt thing, you consider that as a part of anything, I think muddles everything up. But that was one of the questions I was going to ask you guys at the end, when you think he's going to come back. But we'll get to the strap match first. So, yeah, the strap match with Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre. We saw Drew McIntyre bring the strap out and strap it to Kross and beat him up with it. Then we had a fireball flung at his head, didn't hit him. He no-sold it and then took the low blow. And Kross ended up. So we've seen a lot of Kross choking out McIntyre. To me, McIntyre, I talk about how Seth Rollins is a type of guy who can lose as many times as he needs to, because he's sort of at the level that he's at, and he's there, and a loss isn't going to hurt him. I think McIntyre is the equivalent to that on SmackDown, but he's a babyface. I think that he's at that top level. I think a loss doesn't kill him. I think no matter what, he's strong, and just a loss isn't going to kill him. And Karrion Kross is, newly brought back, so they need to do something to, you would think that he may go over here to kind of get him some momentum, because he's had none other than his good promos. That being said, who do you think wins this one, Brad?
Karrion Kross wins it, I think. I think that's honestly the one I feel the most confident about.
All right. Is there any interference?
Yes, from Scarlett.
All right. Is there a pin or a submission?
It's a pin. Oh, God. Yeah, Drew's not submitting. God, yeah, pin.
You don't think he'll choke him out?
No. I just can't see Drew like submitting. I do think he'll try that choke move. Maybe he will do it with the strap, and Drew will just kind of fall asleep. That might be the way it goes. I don't know, man. I'm not thrilled about this match, to be honest with you.
And just because we've seen a little bit of Karrion Kross mentioned in the QR code, White Rabbit, whatever you want to call it, scavenger hunt. What do you think? Do you think Bray Wyatt returns in this match?
No, I think this match is a red herring for that. And I think the Edge match similarly as well is a kind of a red herring with Judgment Day and the darkness and I think it's going to be during the Bianca Belair match.
All right. Frank, who do you see winning this one?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Bray Wyatt interference was probably going to come with the Bianca match and be with Alexa Bliss. But for this match, I see Karrion Kross winning, and I see it a choke out with the strap with some sort of interference with Scarlett. That's my feeling on this. Will there be a connection with Bray at some point? Possibly. I know this is a silly thought, but I mean, I remember Karrion Kross. I don't know if he had the same name when he was in Impact or on the Indies, but he's changed his look when he's come back with the hair. And I just have a feeling that he will eventually go with Bray, and that's when he's going to return to his former look, because he looked a lot more evil with the shaved head. Just he's got a different way about him right now. So I sort of see that connection happening. But for this, I see a win with, and Drew's never going to submit to him. But if there's interference, maybe they'll get the fireball right this time. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he'll wind up getting choked out, passing out.
All right. And then I think, as much as I would like Drew McIntyre to win this match, I think that Karrion Kross is going to win as well. I think he's going to win by choking him out with the strap as well. I think Scarlett will provide a distraction at some time. And I also think that the fireball might be involved in it too. So we all pick Karrion Kross for that one. Next up, we have Edge versus Finn Balor in an I Quit match. Edge did a promo from his training facility, his personal training facility he has in the ring of that. And very important words that he spoke, that you cannot make me physically submit, or you cannot make me physically say I quit. There's nothing you can do physically to make me say that. And he mentioned his family a lot. So that leads me to believe that his family may be ringside or something like that. And that might have some involvement in the finish of this, because I don't really see either guy saying I quit like without something extra happening. That being said, Frank, who do you think will win this match, Edge or Finn Balor?
It's funny. You gave me my answer by mentioning everything he said, because I don't see either one of them saying I quit. I also, you can't have the same finish. I don't see Drew McIntyre saying he quits. So you can't have Edge similarly pass out or have, like that Stone Cold type of loss where you just pass out. I think you're exactly right. I think Beth Phoenix will probably be there, and she's going to come out. And, Finn had an excellent phrase that he said on Monday night. I don't think he's used it before. It almost reminded me of Wolverine. What did he say? I'm the best at what I do, and what I do isn't very nice. Well, Finn said something, I'm not a bad man. Don't make me do bad things. And, then he loses it and he does what he's going to do. I think that's what's going to happen. And he's just going to go over the top. And I think that's when Beth Phoenix is going to come in, throw in the towel. And then you can get a nice storyline between him and Beth where, he said a line about, I can't hide it anymore when I get up and I have a symphony of bones cracking or whatever, how you're broken down. And I think that's going to lead to his march to his last match. I think he mentioned at one of the arenas he was just in that he wants to have his last match there like a year from now. So I think that's, maybe where this goes. That would be a great way to go out, almost where he has his Adrian moment on his final match. Like, he tells Beth, you got to let me do it. Give me X amount of time and set whatever goal that is. I don't know what the final match will be or what it will be for, but I think that's where this is going.
And where do you think the match will end?
Oh, I think in the ring. I think it'll be in the ring where you'll have Beth, jump the guardrail and slide in and, have exchanged that look with Edge. It'll be all in the ring, I think.
Think there'll be any physical contact to Beth Phoenix by like Rhea Ripley that'll make Edge say I quit, so you don't hurt Beth Phoenix? Or
Now, why did you say that? That would have been a nice surprise. But yeah, I think that would be a great finish too. I'd be happy with that.
All right. And I was going to ask you if there'd be interference or whatever, but it sounds like you think there will be to some degree with somebody. So, Brad,
there won't be any interference in a match with Judgment Day. Come on, they don't do that. I think what Matt was saying just now is really the way that I was going. I could see Frank's way with the throw in the towel, but I think Rhea Ripley is going to start either choking out or just doing something outside the ring to Beth Phoenix that's going to just make Edge say, I quit, maybe while he's, in some sort of, Finn Balor camel clutch type of move or something, where he just has to say I quit to get Rhea off of Beth or something like that. I don't think they would go down to the level of the kids, but he did bring up the kids too, which I wouldn't want to see that, but you never know. I think that would be a little bit too much, but that's the way I think it's going to end, with a Rhea Ripley getting involved with Beth Phoenix, and that's why Edge quits.
In the ring or somewhere else?
I think the Rhea thing will happen almost like in the front row of the crowd, and the Edge will quit in the ring.
All right. And I thought the best line that Finn Balor had on Monday night was, last night. Yeah. I mean, last week. God, I'm so mad. I said last night.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that Balor's going to win the match. I actually think that Edge will have the upper hand at the moment that he has to say I quit. He'll be putting on some kind of submission hold or whatever. He'll be beating the hell out of Balor, but Balor won't be like incapacitated or anything like that. And then, Beth Phoenix will have already jumped the rail or gotten it, ringside somehow, maybe earlier in the match when she wants Edge to just stop. And then Ripley will get a hold of her. She'll put her and she'll do something to her. She maybe Dominic's threatening the kids. I don't know. And then Edge says, I quit. And he stops doing whatever he's doing to Balor at that time. And Balor ends up winning. And I think this will happen outside of the ring. So I see interference. I see it happening outside the ring. And I see Balor winning the match. I don't think Edge needs to win this type of match right now. And I think Judgment Day needs a big pay-per-view win like this. And I think Balor needs it. I think that Edge created Judgment Day to sort of build those guys while he was in it. And it seems like he's helping build those guys while he's outside of it too. So I think that he'll end up winning this match that way. But last but not least, we got Bayley versus Bianca Belaire for the Raw Women's Championship. It's a ladder match. We saw at the end of Raw, Bayley and her girls take out basically Bianca Belaire and her whole crew. So I don't know if Asuka's even going to be able to be ringside for Belaire, even though she's in the graphic. And I'm assuming Alexa Bliss will, considering all the things that we've said already about Bray Wyatt return. A ladder match is a great way to defeat somebody without them having to take a pin. So, and I can honestly see that going either way. I can see them not pinning Bayley and Bianca retaining so that Bayley doesn't have to look weak taking a pin. And I can also see them taking the title off of Belaire without her actually being pinned to put her back in the chasing position. What do you think, Brad, about the winner of this match?
Well, I think the most interesting question is was Asuka's leg, quote unquote, broken to make it an uneven matchup where it's now 3 versus 2 essentially because Alexa's the only one left? Yeah, is that your opinion on why that happened?
It seemed like that, and it seemed like they were trying to wipe out Alexa too, and I don't know if they were successful in that or not. I will tell you that Bayley's finisher, the Rose Plant, is one of the sloppiest, ugliest looking finishers I've seen in a long time. mean,
but it does look pretty vicious.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
sloppy and it's weird, but it looks vicious. At least to me.
Well, yeah, you're smashing someone's face into the ground. So
yeah, it's pretty rugged. I think like this is going to be. I mean, the thing that's also most interesting to me is this going to be the main event or the last match?
For some reason, I think it will be. I don't know how they're going to do it, given the fight pit and all that stuff, but I think it will be just because it was so featured on Raw. Like that was like the through line for the whole night, and the main event of Raw was involving that, and Raw went off the air with the ladder and with all the heels posing on it. So I don't know. That's just my take.
I'm going to go with Bianca wins the ladder match with help from Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt. And mainly Alexa Bliss getting power from Bray Wyatt or something like that. And I'm going to go with, not Judgment Day, Damage Control being like really freaked out by the whole situation and really like in shock and a little scared by what just happened and really going from feeling like they're on top of the mountain to, whoa, what have we started here? What have we gotten ourselves into? And I do think Wyatt, they'll bring him back to cheers, not to boos, where he destroys Bianca's chances. I just can't see him helping Bayley or Alexa turning on Bayley. I can't see that being the way that he comes back. You know what I mean? So that's my prediction.
You see interference by Damage Control?
Oh, definitely. I see a lot of interference by Damage Control to the point that Bray Wyatt comes out,
And do you see an announce table being broken?
In this, I don't think it has to be. I see like more like ladder. No, I see ladders being, toppled and people being smashed with those, but not an announce table. I don't think it's necessary in this match.
Who's the first of the two to use the ladder as a weapon?
Probably Bayley, just based on the way Raw ended.
All right. Frank, what do you think about this match?
Well, question on the previous fight pit match when it was in NXT, did that end the show? How did they do it? Was it in a separate area?
In a separate area.
It was. All right. Because I'm thinking this logistically, something tells me the fight pit you have to have it end because of the way it's built. But with this particular match and the way the Raws have been, I think this is our main event. And I think Bianca's going to win. I also, that's who I want to win. I'm a big fan of Bianca. I think she's a strong baby face, and I'm thinking she wins. And I think this is where we get Bray Wyatt. And I don't think Bray's interference necessarily helps her, but I think you'll have Alexa Bliss out there. You'll have Damage Control out there. And there'll be some back and forth and all sorts of stuff going on during the match. I think you might get some spooky stuff where the lights might go off for a second, come back on. They won't even really mention why that is. It could just be the arena. But I think when it's all over is when Bray comes out, and I think Alexa turns on Bianca. Because think about it. There hasn't been any male superstars that the Fiend or Bray Wyatt has really been involved with other than Karrion Kross when it went out to commercial. I could see Bianca being freaked out by the appearance of a White Rabbit or Bray Wyatt. I think she would give great facials for that, looking like, oh, what's going on, clutching her belt, looking around, and then turning to her friend who's been her friend and had her back. And you just see her completely turn into the crazy Lily monster she was. And you've got to, Bianca versus Alexa at that point, and that's how you're sort of bringing in Bray Wyatt without him actually having an opponent yet and worrying about, who's he going to beat? Is he going to lose? How do we get people over with him? He can sort of just be an influence. He could be sort of a force in the WWE. That's what I see.
Mm-hmm. So you think that the Bray Wyatt coming out and doing whatever with Alexa Bliss is going to happen after Belaire wins?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
because I don't think you're taking the belt off. I really think she should be champ for a while. I think she's like a female John Cena at this point, where I think you want to leave the belt on her for a little bit.
Yeah, I struggle with this one. Before I get to that, will the announce table break?
No, I think we'll have seen that enough. I think there'll just be crazy moves with the ladder.
Who's going to use the ladder first?
I'll go with Bianca.
All right. I think this is this is one of the hardest ones for me to call, just because I do think it's going to be the main event. I agree with you guys. This will be the Bray Wyatt spot. I agree with you guys. It'll have something to do with Alexa Bliss. And I think that it being a ladder match is the perfect way to have Bianca lose the title, put her back in the chasing position, which she's very good at. And, the crowd can get behind her. And Bayley can be the title holder. But also, when Becky Lynch comes back, she can also be somebody who can feud with Bayley and possibly win that title. And if Ronda doesn't become the SmackDown Women's Champion, or even if she does, they can have the Ronda and Becky match for the Raw Women's Championship or Women's Title Unification at WrestleMania. I see eventually Bayley, if not in this match, at some point being the Raw Women's Champion and Becky Lynch being the one to unseat her. That being said, I also see this as a way for Bayley to lose and not get buried right away and still look strong in her damage control faction that's supposed to be strong. And I don't see all three of them holding a title belt. Like people are like, oh, well, this will be a female Raw version of the Bloodline. I don't see it. I think Bianca Belair is going to win this match. There's going to be all kinds of interference from damage control. Announce table won't be broken. Bayley will use the ladder first. Bray Wyatt will return in this match, but it'll be after the match, like Frank said, after what matters happens, and then the fans will be able to go home after getting him to come out, and you will see Alexa Bliss turn heel in the process of her being, put in a trance by Bray Wyatt and turning into whatever evil character she is. So I agree a lot with what Frank, with what your idea was. I think that the Bayley will probably be the first to attempt to use the ladder, but Bianca might catch it and then shove it back into her or something along those lines. I think Bianca's going to win this match. I don't think she's going to lose it just yet. I think this is like a signature win for her. She's really only defended it in big matches against Becky Lynch so far. And this, she's a blue chipper for them. And I think they should keep the title on her and sort of give her strengthen her title reign a little bit. But I honestly think this could go either way. And I do think it'll be the main event. And the last thing I was going to ask you guys was when you thought the Bray Wyatt reveal was going to happen. And it sounds like we're all saying that it's going to happen somehow involving this match.
And you know what, man? Because I feel like everyone now thinks that, not just us, but after Raw with the pink screen and the lilies and this, I think everyone kind of has a suspicion that it has to do with Alexa Bliss, and it probably does, but I wouldn't be surprised to see us all get curveballed on that too,
Yeah, like I said, it could be the Rollins and Riddle match because they don't want to knock either one of them out, and they don't want either of them to submit. I don't know.
Or it could be how Karrion Kross beats Drew McIntyre. It could be anything. Scarlett summons him, with her creepiness,
Yeah, I mean they could do, because ultimately, if he affects a match, it's protecting two people, and so maybe they do after McIntyre just got beat by Reigns, and they want to build Kross up a little bit. Maybe Kross will have a good showing, but then they'll have Bray Wyatt get involved into it. Like I think he could get involved in something that could end up in a no contest. And I've heard someone, even say about this ladder match that he could get involved in this and it could, screw everything up and then neither person wins. But I don't know. I kind of wish we didn't even have to think. I mean, like I said, I think
I wish he wasn't coming back. I got to be honest with you. I'm not into it. Maybe there's something wrong with me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Like I'm all for creativity and stuff like that and new stuff, and I'm all for. I think that the fan involvement and all the like rabbit stuff is great. Like I said, I'm not patient enough to look. First of all, those Magic Eye things, I've never been able to do them. So
Nope.
like that was one of the ones on Raw. I could stare at that thing for 3 years and still not figure out what the hell's in there. I know some people are really good at them. They can see it in 2 seconds. So for some reason, I've never been able to do it. I don't know why.
Dude, it goes so far beyond that too, as you know, like people are taking numbers in an image that are hidden in the first place and putting them in like a binary hex decoder. And like, who's doing that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. It's ridiculous, but some people have the time for it, and I'm happy to just look up what did this QR code tonight mean.
Right. Give it 20 minutes till when Raw goes off the air. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I just thought it was interesting on Raw. They had it flash on the screen, and then they had it somewhere else, and then they also had it on the, like when Corey Graves lifted up the binder or whatever that the contract signing is in. Yeah, it was like 3 different times they made sure, and it was the same thing every time, I think.
And all things that were involving Alexa Bliss, which maybe is a curveball to all of us. Maybe it is. But, in the same respect, they say, well, where are they really going with this Alexa character? What are they really doing about it? It doesn't seem like anything. So it seems like she would get back involved with this guy. But
it's almost like they're not wasting their time developing her current character just so they can get ready to do something more in depth with whatever happens with Bray Wyatt. So
correct.
Yeah.
She still won't. I know that they haven't really separated her from that. She didn't come back different, right? I mean, it's I think it's left wide open for a reason.
Yeah.
And I still think her best role and Alexa Bliss's best character is bitchy, mean girl, mean high school, prettiest girl in the school, bully type. I think that's her best role, better than the, dark side supernatural girl. But, I'd like to see her go back to that.
That's true. Those were some brutal segments with Nia Jax back then.
She's so good at it, man. Brutal. She's so good at that.
Yeah.
So good at that.
I do. Well, I think she's a good actress and just good at playing different roles in general. But anyway, I don't want to take us too much longer than this. So you guys have any last words about Extreme Rules before we get out of here for this one?
No, I'm just most excited about tomorrow night on SmackDown, the potential return of Legado del Fantasma. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, that'll be good. And how about you, Frank?
Yeah, I'm excited for the Sheamus match, and I'm looking most forward to the Bianca match on Saturday. And but we'll see. The specter of Bray Wyatt is over everything. So who knows?
Yeah, I'm excited to see the Sheamus match as well, because like I said, I really think it could go either way. I just don't think that they're ready to take it off of Gunther. I think that they want the ratings and they want to redo, one of these banger matches that they had. And I think it will be a great match. It might not be as good as Clash of the Castle. It'll be kind of annoying to have commercial breaks in it, but whatever. And the Bray Wyatt stuff's going to be interesting. And I also think it'll be interesting if the fight pitch match doesn't even happen where the ring is, if they have it set up somewhere else in the arena, which will kind of be annoying to look at, but whatever. I mean, that might be an easier way to do it, because that's what they did when they did it at wherever they were doing. I mean, see, they did it in NXT with no crowd, so it didn't really matter. But they did do it in an area where they usually have bleachers one time, and then another time I think they just did it in a completely different room. So we'll see what happens.
How does this stack up for there's 6 matches on this card, right? That's what it is?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wonder if that tells you something, that if they have less matches, it's because they've got time to dismantle and, do that. Who knows?
But do you guys see any additional matches being added to the show?
I don't know, man. Potentially tomorrow night, if you do have Sheamus. I just wonder if Sheamus wins the Intercontinental Championship, does that change stipulations in the Donnybrook? I don't know.
Not a Donnybrook. It's a good old fashioned Donnybrook.
Right. Right.
You think they're going to have a bar with like pictures of Sheamus Photoshop to look like his ancestors like they did last time?
I think they should. That was funny.
Yeah, that was about the only thing him and Drew McIntyre never done before, thrown each other into a bar that has pictures of Sheamus looking like people from the 1800s.
That was funny, man.
Yeah. But other than that, I think we're all set to go and ready for Extreme Rules. Thanks for joining the podcast tonight, guys. Thanks everybody for listening. And I think we can wrap it up there. Remember to follow us on Twitter at BeyondMattWWE. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on whatever podcast platform you listen to us on. And we'll see you next week. Enjoy the pay-per-view and the Smackdown season premiere tomorrow.
Adios.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Mat.
Good night, guys.
Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a show.
Good shit, man.